We are in Ravenscraig, which is about a couple of miles from the centre of Motherwell. And behind me is the former industrial site of the Ravenscraig steelworks. We're very fortunate that this event is part of the core programme for Architecture Fringe Festival, which is a Scotland-wide architecture festival. And we are hosting a film, Boundary Layers, by artist Amanda Thomson, which is a photo essay, beautiful film, which she made in response to Ravenscraig. And Tine Collective, led by McElhinney Hamshya Rajkumar, two other artists who are part of the Fragile Correspondence project and exhibition, took a group on an art walk earlier today, which allowed people to explore the site creatively. So that happened earlier and has set the scene for the gathering tonight for the film.
For the walk today, one of the things we're going to do is march directly down to what Hamshya always calls the canisters, but really it's where the towers used to stand, the big cooling towers. So we'll bring everybody down there so they get a really good view of something that was quite iconic about the site when it was a steelworks. And there we're going to make a photograph using a pinhole camera. We're going to use some chemicals to process that image. And that kind of mirrors the process that Hamshya and I worked with when we were making the material for our exhibitions. I've also got samples of different smells that have been made, birch oil that we've extracted from birch bark. I've got a kind of treacle that I've made that you wouldn't believe that smells so good. And that's extracted birch sap from the trees in March and boiled it right down into a kind of syrup that smells like toffee. But Hamshya will talk about some of the flora from the site as well. We did do hundreds of photographs of different plants and flowers around the site, and we'll talk about that as well.
Like the word biodiversity, or the words of like nature and like the wild. I think sometimes we think about maybe like the rainforests of the West Coast or something, but really this is a whole cool little habitat in itself. And I think because of its kind of rougher nature, it's easier to just discount it and want to landscape it. Originally, and I think Frank would probably say the same thing, is that when we used to come here over lockdown, I wouldn't see anybody. It was like a no man's land. It felt like a wee playground. I would just come around, cut about my cycle, you know, like we'd like meet these weird wetlands, we'll maybe just cut through the woods.
Do you know, it takes you back to your childhood when you're out exploring. I've got so much family history rooted in this place as well. I grew up at the edge of East Kilbride and was always down the glen there and exploring the forest. So I always think about that.
I think what Frank and I really try to show with our work is that there is so much life here, and that's just as supportive to wildlife as perhaps a nice wee rainforest could be.
I'm Amanda Thomson and I made Boundary Layers about Ravenscraig. The message behind it is what happens when we look at a place that perhaps looks very ordinary with really not that much to look at, and when we really pay attention and look, it's incredible what we see. Not just what we see in front of us now, but its history. The history of Ravenscraig, what's happened since Ravenscraig's closure, but also the land before it, what was here before it. There were mines, there were meadows. So it's trying to think about how we might think about place over a long period of time. You know, quite often we kind of go for headline places of natural beauty, but actually the more time I've spent in this place, the more remarkable I've found it. And I think for people that are in and living in Motherwell, I'm sure they know how special it is, but I think for other people it's how we start to pay attention to the everyday and how important the everyday is for us, and how important I think as well Ravenscraig as a steelworks was and still remains actually for the people of North Lanarkshire. I think it's really important as well.
I think this has been a real gift of a project for North Lanarkshire Arts, but also for Motherwell and for Ravenscraig, and for kind of putting Ravenscraig on the cultural map and North Lanarkshire. So it was really great that NL Arts were able to partner with the project curators, Architecture Fringe /Otheranism, as part of the Scotland and Venice contribution to the Architectural Biennale. These kind of projects, they have to be sustainable to have value, and that's what we at NL Arts are really about. Everything that we have achieved as part of this project in a local context, we just hope to kind of further. And we have other partners like Lanarkshire Climate Action Hub, who are a wonderful organisation, and we're working with them in terms of creative community partnership in tackling climate change. Everybody has a story in relation to Ravenscraig, and I think people have an interest in what's the continuing story, and I think NL Arts have a role to play within that story.